just go into this one.
All right. Well, here we are. Neil Nielsen is going to give us a tour of his tiny house. And I'm going to turn it over to Neil. Neil, thanks for doing this.
Hi, it's an exciting day. This is actually the anniversary of my first year staying in the tiny house here in West Virginia, and it's just fabulous. So I've really enjoyed it. So welcome to this tour for Windsong. I think you'll, as we walk through the next 20 minutes, what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about the research that I've done over the last 36 months, the experiences that I've had in staying in tiny house communities and tiny houses across the nation, show you the planning that I took to build the tiny house, then actually the build itself, and then take you on a tour. And we can do questions and answers in between the build portion and the tour, or wait till the very end. So depending on what the audience wants to do, we'll take it from there. So from a research perspective, I attended 6 tiny house festivals across the nation from 2016 to 2018. And I met and spoke with tiny house dwellers and builders and developers, hosts, vloggers and bloggers, and just gained a lot and really got a tremendous respect for the community and how much people share in this community. I booked accommodations in 7 tiny house rentals across the United States, everything from KOA camping cabins to yurts to tiny estates all over the place. It was quite an experience and had a great time. There were 3 primary tiny houses along that journey that really inspired me. The base design that first caught my attention was the Lookout 2 tiny house from Chattanooga tiny house. And I saw that at the Florida Tiny House Festival in 2016. What I liked about it was the gooseneck trailer, the lower gooseneck height, and having the propane and heating and air conditioning underneath the gooseneck. And while there was utility space, it was under the floor in the living room. And I thought that was really a benefit instead of putting things up in a loft. And that was the first introduction to the Lunos heat recovery ventilator. The second tiny house, which really cemented what I wanted to do, was again at the Tiny House Festival in 2017. And this was the Luxury 40 model from Hummingbird Tiny Houses. What was interesting about this is that they had built a platform um, for the bathroom and a hallway that all of the utilities were underneath. And so there was basically a utility room or a basement. And from an interior perspective, the low country from rough cut tiny houses was the one that I really liked. The kitchen layout, the stair placement, unique rough cut wood, and just the comfort and everything that that tiny house had. So there were 4 primary requirements. One was shelter, hygiene, comfort, and nutrition, and that the tiny house couldn't be really small and it had to provide all of those elements. And that anything that I was going to expand or need was going to either be a bolt-on or an add-on space outside. I chose a 8 foot 6 wide by 32 foot long gooseneck trailer with an 8 by 8 foot deck over the gooseneck itself. And at my age, which I'll be 70 in May, with 2 knee replacements and 2 cataract surgeries, I wanted to make this house prepared for my age and place. I wanted to maximize all of the space, as most tiny houses do, tiny house dwellers do, and maximum wall space. So you'll see as we go through the tour and the design that the windows are up high, so I get maximum space. One of the catch-22s was that I needed to work side by side and hand in hand with with the builder that I selected. And as I interviewed builders across the country, their insurance requirements and the all kinds of jurisdictional issues just wouldn't allow them to be um, on that on their build team. So I was lucky enough to have a friend who was a business associate that was installing solar power panels and I was providing the analytics for those panels in government buildings and all of that. And he started a tiny house company called Almost Heaven Tiny Homes here in West Virginia. So the design for the tiny house is the gooseneck trailer with a deck over, which means that the wheels are below the surface of the trailer and that the cross members are flush with that trailer height. There's an extended tongue. And under that tongue, we'll have the mini split and the LP storage. And this year, I'll be building an enclosed shelter around that. So that'll basically be an outside shed or storage room. The bathroom and hallway landing actually provides me with a platform. You'll see that in the design, and that I have under that platform space and stair storage. The roof is a 312 pitch roof for the majority of the trailer, but then over the bathroom and bedroom, we kind of pitch it up as a dormer, so it's a 112 pitch. So I can actually, on the gooseneck, I can actually stand up in the bedroom without hitting my head, and I'm 6'2". I'll have concealed gutters on the side to do rainwater catchment, and I really like the log cabin feel, so it's all knotty pine walls. I put in a
So
50
I
amp
just,
electrical, 220 volt service.
Neil, real
Go
quick,
ahead.
I am getting, I think it's from you. I've been looking at the microphone monitors. There's some kind of almost wind noise, or it sounds like maybe you're accidentally brushing up against a microphone. Just wanted to
Here, let me.
see if it's an easy fix.
Yeah, see. Yeah, I was hearing that too. I thought it was somebody else on the call, but that's
I
okay.
don't think it's anyone else because
Hey, is that
everyone
better?
else is muted. Yeah, it seems okay now. It was
Okay,
kind of
good.
coming and going.
Okay, that's good. I moved the little portable monitor off this desk, so
Okay,
sorry about
perfect.
that.
No worries.
All right. So we've got 50 amp service here, but the whole house only draws 1500 watts of power with all the LED lighting. So it's really, really energy efficient. But I wanted to make sure that I had it wired for whatever I could have. I do have LED lighting with that are dimmable, and also it has color temperature so that the same fixture can have bright white in one room and really nice muted warmer colors in other rooms. I put in a Mitsubishi E2 mini split heat pump, and I also have an NV supplemental heat in the hallway. I've got the Lunos heat recovery ventilator that does a wonderful job, and I've got the Precision Temp LP gas hot water heater. It's the plumbing is set for both bottled water for drinking water, potable water, which is fresh water, or rainwater catchment. And when we go through plumbing, you'll see how that works. And I've got the Nature's Head composting toilet, but I made a modification for the liquid storage for that. Scope of work, I provided all the designs and specifications and drawing, and I designed and purchased the custom trailer from Tiny House Basics. I purchased, designed, and installed the plumbing and electrical, the HVAC, the heat recovery ventilator, and I purchased all the doors and windows. Almost Heaven Tiny Homes, my first initial contract with them was to build a dry and shell per my specifications. So they provided all of the labor and material to do that. And then there were basically 4 change orders from that point to install the floor and the knotty pine walls and the kitchen and bathroom cabinets, and then the front deck out in front. And then I just subcontracted to a welder to modify the front trailer for the LP tanks and the heating, the HVAC system, the company for the standing seam metal roof, and the company to do the closed cell spray foam insulation. As I said, the trailer is basically 32 feet long. So if you go from the left to the right of this drawing, you'll see that the back, what I call the great room, all the way through to the kitchen is 22 feet of the 32 feet of the base trailer. The bathroom and then that empty space between bathroom and bedroom is the additional 10 feet of the 32 feet of trailer. and the bedroom is the overhang. So it's kind of set up where I've got great room, kitchen, bathroom, hallway, and then up to the bedroom. As an electronic systems contractor, installing fire alarm systems and audio systems for governments and businesses, it was really important to make sure that everything I did in the tiny house was built and done to code. So I chose to use a third-party certification company and spent just an ordinary amount of money to make sure that the glass, the doors, the seismic bracing, all of the things that it took to build the building would meet as many codes across the United States as possible. So there are 3,300 municipalities, and each one of those has what's called an authority having jurisdiction. You got to be their friend when you're building that. Buildsworth, which was the company that I used this specific protocol where the Department of Transportation, the National Fire Protection Agency, ANSI, International Residential Code, the IRC, all of the codes and all of the things that are used to build were all put into one prescriptive process. And then we had milestone inspections where online through video and a conference, we actually took pictures of each one of those installations. So for the trailer, for the installation inspection, for the electrical, for the plumbing, for the insulation, and all of that. And then a final inspection to get the certificate of occupancy. So that was great. It was really exciting. So back, this was August 22nd of 2019 is when my trailer arrived.
Boy, this is super exciting. I'm here at Home Depot and I'm just buying some electrical fixtures for the tiny house that's being built. And while I'm in the store, I get a call from the driver who's delivering the trailer from Sweetwater, Tennessee up to Berkeley Springs. He'll be there in the morning about 9 o'clock. I'm super anxious to get up there and meet him. This is the beginning of a new adventure.
And there's a reason why the name of the builder is Almost Heaven Tiny Homes. This next video segment is the second day of the build. So the shed that you see in the middle there, it is solar powered. So much of the energy that we use to run the saws and the equipment was powered from those solar panels. And a beautiful, beautiful area. And if you heard the wind chimes in the background, that is what the reason why I chose to call the tiny house Windsong. So the first phase of our installation is the actual trailer itself. So you can see here that the cross members are level with the top, and that allowed us to put the panel the flooring directly on top of it. You'll see that in a minute. But the first thing that we did was to seal all of the cracks, all of the crevices, make sure that this was a completely watertight seal. We then took and put in this solid foam with a metal backing, 3/4 inch, 2 sheets of it. So basically there's one sheet pointed down with the metal and one sheet pointed up. So when it was installed, it looked like this in between each one of those rows. So that allowed us to basically clean everything off and to apply the surface directly to it. Now here, this is my builder, Colin, cleaning that off. And this picture shows what that deck over is. The wheels are below this metal part that you see on the right. And you can see that the hold down studs for the walls have been, I already had those welded, so we didn't have to put those in. Once we got that cleaned, then we put adhesive down, put the Advantex flooring down, screwed that to everything. And this is kind of hard to believe, but you know, that's the size of my bedroom. That's the deck over on the top. That's what the 32 feet looks like on the bottom. And there we go. So the next thing we did was to frame. So this is Butch, the other person from Almost Heaven Tiny Homes. He's laying out the framing. Then in that shed, we actually built the individual pieces of the walls, brought them up and erected those on the deck. Piece by piece, section by section, and you'll notice that all of the headers and everything is all built to code. And you'll notice that on the left-hand side, you'll notice those 2 doors, and I'll talk about those in a little bit. Another view with almost everything on it. And of course, it's really important that if you're not on level ground, that before you start leveling things, you have your trailer level. Another picture. Now, the walls are held down with these bolts that are welded to the trailer. And we use Simpson ties and Simpson straps, if you will, in various parts of the roof design, in various parts of all of the studs, and in key places where we need to have those for building code. So here's an example of one of the studs going up to the double top plate where that is actually measured in. Here's one of the strong ties that's on the bottom. And what I chose to do for securing this down was actually through bolt it, put on a washer, a lock washer, and then lock tight on the top of that so that these bolts are not going to come loose. We then put up the siding, put up the outside wrap, and basically that took care of the framing. Now the roof was interesting. You'll notice here that I've got 2x4 wall construction, but 2x6 ceiling construction for the rafters. Each one of those rafters is held in place with one of these strong ties. Then we put the deck on top of that, nail that down, and then had a subcontractor install the standing seam roof. Now, you may have some questions about how does a standing seam roof get installed. Basically, this one was built to order on site, and I thought you might enjoy this little video of that. So once we got all that done, we really started to put the final touches on the outside. I chose to do a cedar siding, and this was the easiest wall to start with in the back. And some of you are probably saying, well, what is that square in the middle? Well, that is the location of a custom sign that is being etched to have the Windsong emblem there. So when it's parked, people will know what it is. So here's the passenger side, or the utility side of the trailer. We started with our metal, brown metal bottom, and the cedar siding above that. When we installed the door, obviously you've got to have the metal trims and all of the door and window seals so that no moisture can get in and no moisture can touch or get to any part of the wood surrounding the doors or windows. So that is the double door that got put in. You'll notice that that double door actually has shades built into it. It's also tempered glass. It meets all the fire codes for California. It meets the shatter codes for Florida. It was a very, very expensive and really heavy door. So once we seal that, and you'll see a picture here in a minute when we do the windows, but once we seal that, we start to put up more of the siding and the insulation. In the front, I chose to do a diamond plate. You'll see how that plays here in a minute. And you can see here, Butch is actually taping and sealing all of the areas before the windows get in and partially up either side so that no moisture can settle or get to that wood. And then once the windows are in place and fastened, you can see that it's all sealed completely around. After that's done, then we start putting in the trim, the wood, and the metal. So that was what it looks like in the front, what it looks like on the back. And these two hatches here are that space that's underneath. You'll see those doors in a minute. I didn't put any penetrations through the roof. So everything that requires air to come in or to go out is all done through the side. So on the left side of this picture is the location for the heat recovery ventilator that's in the bedroom. Right below that is a dual circuit duplex outlet with switch controls so that I can have surrounding lights or Christmas lights or whatever. I have that in the front and the back. Then over the bathroom area, that vent just to the left is the vent for the air recovery so that any air that needs to come into the plumbing system, the air is drawn into there. The exhaust fan is the vent to the right, and then the exhaust area for the composting toilet is the next hole over. And in the back, the heat recovery ventilator in the bedroom. I'm sorry, in the living room. So this gives you an idea of the interior. So we're in the back of the trailer looking forward. You can see that the distance from where I'm standing to that platform is 22 feet. Then the additional 10 feet is raised above that platform, and that whole area underneath is used for storage, is used to house the plumbing, the electrical, and everything. So it was very easy to do that. And then a couple of steps up into the deck over the top. Another picture of how that looks. Put the wall up that separates the kitchen from the bathroom, and then extend from the bedroom into this area, the location for my closet in the bedroom. So that's that build area there. And how that flooring looks built into that. And then looking back, that platform is a raised platform for the Splendide combination washer and dryer that is going to be located there once I purchase that. And then we built up just 4 simple stairs that go from the main level to that top one. And of course, it was a milestone.
Small step for Neil, one giant step for Neil's house.
So I took the responsibility of doing all the electrical. So the first thing to do is place all the boxes. And if you see that stick that's kind of leaning on the side in the back, that stick has a line for the placements of everything that's off the floor to the outlet heights, or everything that's at counter height, everything that's at switch height, so that it was really easy with, rather than using measuring tape, to just go around and place the boxes throughout the building. Been using 14 gauge wire for all of the lighting. We put in the switch boxes, ran that all through up through the headers. And this 320 square foot tiny house has 200 feet of this future proof, this what I call blue Smurf, which allows me to run coax, Cat5, alarm, any kind of low voltage cabling to all of the locations in the living room, the kitchen, the bedrooms, and back to uh, the main area in the by the electrical panel. This is what one of those combination boxes looks like, with the 110 power there and then low voltage next to it. First, look at the circuit breaker panel, and then I have a structured wiring panel where all of the data equipment and that equipment is located. I chose to put in all DOT clearance lights with exposed wiring. And this actually was a problem after the spray foam, and I'll tell you about it now. So you see that I've got these lights that are those little circles connected with the 12-volt wiring, and then with the standard automotive clamps. Well, when the spray foam insulation was sprayed over these, that insulation actually got into some of those clamps, those automotive clamps, separated them, and then caused some of the lights not to work. I have all LED lighting, and I needed to reserve the space for the control units up there, so I put in these little blocks all along, so that was easy to do. And I use these instead of using wire nuts, I use these lock nuts here, so that instead of having the wires crimp like you normally see in electrical boxes, these lock nuts work really well. An electrical outlet wired just directly for 20 amp, and where in some locations you're allowed to loop your wires through the electrical outlets, and some you're not. So I took the path of least resistance again to make this the best in any location, so that here, if anything goes wrong with this outlet on the bottom, it doesn't affect the wire going from one part of the trailer to the next. Because the walls were furred out with the wood, I put in spacers so that the sockets were held tight rather than wiggling back and forth. That's what one of the sockets looks like in the thing. The electrical panel, everything's marked and tagged, grounded, everything's done to code. And I chose to use combination arc fault, ground fault circuit breakers for every circuit in the house. So with a whole house surge protector. So again, a lot of extra money, but no matter what code requirement there is in individual areas, this would pass. That all goes down to a 50 amp shore power plug that's in underneath the trailer, and that goes down out to the outside. Real quickly with plumbing, and this is almost the end here, you'll notice that there is a red PEX line that is for fresh hot water. The blue line directly to the left of that is for fresh cold water. The blue to the left of that is for harvested cold water. And the red half-inch line to the left of all of that is the recirculating line going to the farthest point, which is the kitchen. So that passed through inside of a enclosed space so that there's no chance of freezing. It goes through the cabinets in the kitchen. And when I mentioned that there's these two reds, basically here at the kitchen sink, they're tied together with a circulating pump in the back. So when you need hot water, the circulating pump draws it from the farthest point all the way there. So you almost have instant hot water, and you don't waste anything if you're pulling water out of your tanks. Picture of the washer dryer, and this is the location of the air recovery ventilator. This is the sink in the bathroom, for example. So the sink drain on the bottom allows air to get into it. So the sink, the shower, and the wash machine all had that. In the bathroom, we've got on the left the exhaust for the uh, composting toilet and the exhaust fan for the exhaust for the fan in the bathroom. Excuse me. What it looks like with my shower with the valve and the overhead rain shower, how easy it was to just tap up. I could either have the sink or I could pick the water that I needed. And the way that this actually works is the shower and the wash machine uses the blue line for the harvested water, and the point of use, the kitchen sink and the bathroom sink, use the fresh water, so that I can have separate storage tanks or combine them together. Once everything was installed, pressure tested that for 48 hours at 90 pounds of pressure, only using 40 pounds of pressure right now, but it was set for that. Once all of that passed inspection, then heated everything down and insulated it. This is my water filtration system. So on the left here, you'll see that it comes into a pressure regulator, going to a spin filter, which basically gets out all of the small particulates, through the first filter, which here is just another filter that gets down to 5 microns. The next filter is carbon filter, and then the last one is an iron filter, which then goes either up to the cold water through the top of that T or into the cold side of the precision hot water heater. So looking now under the bathroom, under the hallway, this is what the plumbing looks like. So this wall all the way in the back is basically the front of the trailer. So power and water and everything comes up through a hole in the trailer floor, goes through the filters. The precision temp hot water heater is next to that. And then all the drain pipes, I took and I angled to this middle part so that I had maximum space underneath to do storage. This is another view so you can see just how much of that 24 inches of space I actually have. Last but not least, we have the insulation. Nasty business. I chose to do closed cell spray foam insulation. On 2x4 walls, I had 3 inches applied to the floor, to the ceiling and to the walls, which gives me about an R20 rating. It's very nasty stuff, a lot of noisy equipment, and they basically run a hose, and before they start, they put down plastic, cover everything that's a floor or a window so that this nasty stuff doesn't get on it, and then they begin to spray foam. And so this is spray foaming up in the bedroom, and this is what it looks like in the living room. That's what the finished product looked like after everything was dried. Very nice, and it really puts rigidity in the walls. It really strengthens everything up. This is where I had mentioned that the trailer lights, the clearance lights on the top, I had to dig out this closed cell spray foam and replace and repair those connectors and then seal that back up. The last thing was the HVAC. I used the Lunos E2 small because I only had 2x4 walls. You can see that these cylinders are larger or longer than those 2x4 walls. So we were able to get those installed. Cutting a hole in the side of the tiny house. This is Butch doing that. Then we shimmed that out and then actually mounted it so that there's a slight slope to the outside. We built a ridge, which I'll show you in a minute, on the outside so that this tube could be pushed out slightly, but you still see how much sticks inside the wall. So this is what Butch, the master carpenter, did to build a surround, if you will, to cover up that pipe. So he took and made this beautiful architectural, triangular, wonderful thing, and then the heat recovery ventilator is there, and then built this cedar siding for the outside so that this is what the outside vent looks like on that. Last, I had subcontracted a welder to come in, put in 2-inch angle iron, weld that underneath the front of the trailer, underneath the bedroom. Did a great job in welding. I went ahead and spray painted and got all of that sealed up. And then installed the two 30-pound propane tanks on the lower shelf. And those two 32-pound tanks have an auto changeover so that when you are feeding LP gas from one side, if that tank runs out, it automatically switches over to the next, so you don't have any downtime. And then the Mitsubishi H2 is up above that, so that's all nice and quiet. I thought that I was going to have a problem with that noise of that fan being underneath the bedroom, but even during the cold winter of this last year, it hasn't been an issue. The inside unit is mounted up above the cabinets in my kitchen, and so that really provides a good amount of heating. This will be the first summer that I get to use it, so we'll see how it works with cooling. And I made easy access so that this actually goes down into the wall and underneath, and everything is all coated so that there won't be any sweating or any problems with condensation underneath that. This is what the switch plate looks like at the front door. So this is just the controls, the thermostat for the Mitsubishi and control for that, and then the alarm and control systems there. So with that, this was time to move. Everything is ready to go. We've had our inspections. It's time to take her down the road. Now, one of the things that was really a blessing for me throughout this is that my builder and Colin became really, really good friends, and along with Butch and actually all the other contractors that were on site. So I think I have one of the least moved tiny homes because what Colin did is he actually cleared an area on his property. We ran electric and power to that and basically moved the tiny house 1,000 feet from where it was built to where it sits today.
I feel like if I had a lot of time and money, I would build a tiny house up by the sea. I'd put it on a set of wheels and roll around the country traveling, just my music and me. I'm not a fan of having more than I need, just a home to lay my head and a whole world to plant my feet. And while I don't mind a place to come back to, I'm more fulfilled seeing the world around me.
I like that song.
Yeah, you know, and Will Bremen was on last year's, he was one of these on The Voice last year. And when I heard that song, I reached out to him. I said, at some point, I'm going to have a video. And can I use that song for it? And he said, yeah, just let him know when it's going to be used. So I get to tell him for this one. So do we want to just go into the tour, or do we want to do questions and answers? What do you guys want to do?
Well, does anyone have any questions about the build? I mean, that was awesome seeing the build process. Maybe we do some questions about that if there are any.
I just gotta say, I like the way you think because I think the same way.
Thanks. It's important to do things right and to do things safely.
Mhm.
All right, so why don't we do the tour?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to switch over. Now, let's see. All right. So this, how does that sound? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Can
Okay,
still hear
good.
you. We're seeing the
All right, so
kitchen
this is
right
going
now.
to be, now I can't see Zoom because what's that?
Just telling you, we're seeing you standing in the kitchen.
Can you hear
right
me
now.
okay?
Yes.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Yeah, this is where trying to do the tour and be the videographer is almost impossible. So, all right. So, as you can see, I've got plenty of cabinet space. This area here is just all my dry goods storage, with overflow stock up on top. When I downsized, I basically said I'm going to have 4 of everything. So, except for beer glasses and wine glasses, I have a lot more than 4 of those, but basically 4 cups, coffee cups, plates, saucers, spoon, you know, all of that up in this area. And then canned goods storage and medicines, vitamins and everything over here. So this storage area there. From a utility space, I've got my 3-way, basically a grill, toaster oven, that works great for grilling steaks and doing small pizzas and so on and so forth. It's also got a cooktop on the top, and then my coffee pot. I have my toaster and my microwave oven. I'm not a real big cook. I do a lot of other kinds of meals, so microwave is my friend. And then, but when I do cook, up on top here, moving my moose and bear, I have my induction cooktop. And then below here are all the pans and the utensils to cook with on that. So I do have that here. There we go, moving that over. Then I've got my utensils, nice forks and spoons. And again, this is where I've got 4 of everything. And I've got my nice, deep stainless steel sink with a bamboo cutting board top, and then a strainer and washer down here so that it can kind of hide things away. And because it's a really deep sink, it allows me to stack dishes in there. This faucet with the removable handle here is connected to that potable cold and hot water, so that this is drinking water safe. But I do have a separate pump run, which is tied to 2 storage 5-gallon storage tanks up underneath there, so that I use this for drinking water. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the camera, and this is where it's going to get a little bit jittery, but the rest of the tour is going to have to be online like this. Underneath the sink, I've got my pull-out bins for glass cans and bottles, and the regular garbage, all of my plastic bags and cleaning supplies and everything here. And this is all a soft close, so you can just shove that in there and it goes in. I like wine, so I have my 8-bottle refrigerator for wine. for the white wines. And then my wine holder here. I have a 10 cubic foot refrigerator, which gives me plenty of storage space for frozen foods, goods, and yeah, the whole bottom shelf there is beer, but you know how that goes. Moving to the back, you can see here that this is my couch. Now this is a couch that I bought cheap, and it's just what I have right now, because the back half of the trailer, as you can kind of see, is really where I wasn't able to downsize because of the business. So this is basically my office area and basically video area. Up here you can see this is what the heat recovery ventilator looks like, and that nice surround that Butch built. All of the windows are up high, and I have cross ventilation from one side to the other. I've got cellular blinds on all of the windows. And one of the great multi-use tables is right here. This is my coffee table. The coffee table is on casters, but it also raises up to be a full table, so it's at eatable height. So one chair in the back, 2 people on the couch, and another chair over on this side. I can basically serve 4 people. I've got my 42-inch television, which is on an articulating arm, but it really stays against the wall for the most part. And when I was 8 years old, my grandmother willed me her grandfather clock. So I don't know if you heard it in the background, but every 15 minutes it chimes. So this is an actual working grandfather clock that sits here in the tiny house. And it's a great piece. This is my closet. And so for the most part, I just have things that hang up here. But during the wintertime, like this year, this arm comes up, and then I can take and extend other coats and hang things all the way out. So basically I get, you know, full closet depth for expansion and when people come over. Okay. All right, there's the front door, and here's the hallway or walk up to that. Let me turn off that lower third. There we go. Okay, so we'll go up. I've got underfloor storage, so my shoes and boots are all underneath there. It's 4 steps up, which is easy, and this wood flooring is Restoration Oak. It's a laminate floor that I really liked. Bedroom up ahead, and to the left is the bathroom. Now, in the bathroom, we've got my sink, storage cabinets underneath. Here is the build out for the washer dryer with the vent, the water, the power all up there. I've got this open right now because I'm doing some changes to the electrical, and my composting toilet. Now, what I did with the composting toilet, because I used it before I moved into the tiny house, I know that I needed to do the ventilation, so this then ties into that outside vent. And I get about almost 50 to 60 days of emptying the solids. But the liquids, you know, you did that a couple of times a week. So I modified the composting toilet, built an adapter to this, to a tube that goes down in the basement. And depending on jurisdiction, if you can put your liquid, your urine, into the gray water system, then that's fine. That's where that would go. Or it could be to another storage tank that's outside that's much larger, so you don't have to change the storage tank, which is really a pain in the butt. I have a full shower, 36 by 36, with my rain shower head up on the top. And place to store towels, bath mats, those kinds of things. And then up in this corner, a place to hang, robes, sleeping gear. But one of the greatest add-on items that I got is this articulating arm. And this articulating arm allows me to now just hang wet clothes that I hand wash and hang them over into the shower area. Or when I get the washer and dryer, I'll be able to hang shirts and pants and those types of things all the way out here so that I'll be able to just let those dry. So this is a great little add-on. Pocket door for the bathroom is here, and that's a 2.0 door. Awning windows on the outside. Make a left. Here's the NV in-wall heater. Draws 475 watts, so I can run this off a portable inverter if I have emergencies and need heat. This wall cabinet here is where the electrical and the low voltage is. I've got fire extinguishers throughout the house there. Go up to the bedroom, and this is what the bedroom looks like. Because it's just me living here, I have a twin XL. So it's basically the width for one person, but the length of a king, so that I have plenty of leg room. And then I have wall sconces on either side with another opening awning window. The heat recovery ventilator on this side, so it is so quiet on the low speed, you don't even know that it's running, and it draws and circulates the air, both heat and air conditioning all the time. On this side, if I close the bedroom door, it exposes this armoire, which I've had for I don't know how many years, but all of my clothes and everything are all stored in here. Socks, underwear, sweaters, that kind of thing. And downsized to 12 shirts and 12 pants. So that basically when this door is closed, it kind of hides that. And for fire regulations, you have to have an egress window. So this is my view. I think you can kind of see my fire pit and stuff out there. And again, I'm totally remote, so I don't know what you guys are looking at, but I'll see that in a minute. And that this is full height and the correct distance off the ground, so that if I need to evacuate for a fire or a fireman needed to come in here to do rescue or whatever, they could break and go through this window. So it's really nice. I'd mentioned that I have the cellular valley blinds, and these are what's called bottoms up, tops down. So I can pull the blind down and completely make the room dark, or I can drop the blind from the top, give myself privacy, and then have cross ventilation from this window to that window over there. So turn back around, you can see that I've got track lighting, and once I get things hung on the wall, we'll have that there. Go down the stairs. And out we go. So since I'm coming back in here, Ethan, do we want to go outside, or what do we want to do?
Are there any questions before we go outside? No, we got a lot of smiling faces.
Okay, that's good. Well then, let's take this outside.
I have a question.
I mentioned that
All right,
these...
Betsy has a question. Go for it.
Hi, Betsy.
Yeah, hi Neil. I'm a little confused about your basement. I understand that from the build we got a very good idea of where it is, but when I see it in the kitchen area now, it looks like it's pretty much blocked off. I'm assuming you have an outside access to it, but that's still quite a large space under there, and I don't really understand how you access stuff from the inside.
I don't. And so the basement itself is really designed to house storage tanks, overflow, things like that. And actually, when we go outside, I'm going to show you what that basement looks like. And I think that'll kind of answer your question.
Okay, great, thanks. It all looks great, by the way. It's really fun to actually see
Okay,
it
good.
all.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun to live in too. So what's really cool about these windows, or these doors, is that the shades are actually built into the window pane themselves. So I can open the shades and angle those and actually pull the shades up completely so that I have a complete view to the outside. So now you get to see where I live. Now we may have some wind, oh, there's a lot of wind, so we may have some wind noise, so I'll try to cover the mics on this. But basically I'm going to walk out onto the deck. The red building that you see over there is a dance studio, and on the back side of the window there are 3,000 or 3 kilowatts of solar panels, which basically feed the power for the trailer, and then the water is brought over from the well in that building. Over here is my sky chair, which is wonderful to just sit in and enjoy the breezes. I've got my firewood shed over here, and then I've got my fire pit area. And let's walk down. You can see that we're starting garden here. Now you know why it's Windsong. So that chime is just absolutely wonderful. So looking back at the tiny house, and because I only have room for me in there, right next to it I have my pop-up camper. Here,
Neil, I think with you
you
outside,
can kind of see how the
we're losing you a little
storage
bit
and the
outside.
tanks and the heating and air conditioning works. And then Betsy, this is to answer your question. So the access to the basement is through these 2 large diamond plated doors. So if we open this one, see that I've got the actual struts to hold it open, and then go inside here. I'll turn on light. So here's the hole in the floor to bring in all of the outside utilities. So here's the plug for the electric. Here's the water with the regulator. All of the shutoffs and everything are all right here. So should there be an emergency, I can turn off hot water there, cold water right here, and just shut everything down. And then my on-demand hot water heater from Precision Temp. And then I'm going to stick my nose in here, but so to answer your question is yes, it's completely sealed off from any other part of the building. But the concept is that this behind the hot water heater, at some point, if I wanted to make this mobile, would be the place for my poly storage tanks for fresh water. And as you can see, I've already got it plumbed, ready to go for that. And you can see that I've got really good clearance on the top so that I get maximum storage for the things that I store underneath here. And open the second door. And again, storage, maximum depth, and then that would be the location where the stairs are going up. Here's the 2 bottles and the pump for the drinking water. And then because we made this basically an RV space, when we brought in the electric, we actually brought in the 50 amp regular panel for here, which not only feeds my trailer, but then feeds the power and the air conditioner to that. And then the telephone company, you know, with their DSL super slow speed. And this is the water, which again is drinking water. And I did put heat tape on this and had this plugged in for the winter time. We went down into the, you know, zeros, 18 degrees here in West Virginia. And just with this wrap, the way that I had it, it worked perfectly. Trailer is 21,000 pounds. 21,000, yeah, 21,000 pounds. So it's a 3-axle trailer, and it's got the blocks on both ends. And one of the designs that I did, assuming that at some point these kinds of trailers are going to be legal, just like a mobile home, the trailer itself has two 10-inch I-beams. I hope you can see it. Yeah, two 10-inch I-beams. And so if it was going to go on a pure foundation, it would be laid on those I-beams. And then just like a mobile home, I had them weld on these D-rings so that I could do the same HUD strapping to hold it down if it ever gets put in place permanently. So walking back around, see the creative work of doing the porch here. And then up in the corner, up there, there's an example of having the electrical to run lights, clearance lights, and then the box on the bottom has Cat 5 and coax, should I ever need to put up any kind of an antenna or outside cameras or weather stations or whatever. So there you go. What you think?
Fantastic. Very thorough tour, and what an amazing tiny house, just so well thought through.
Thanks.
And very nicely done with the multi-camera tour. Oh, I think we just lost. I don't know if we hear you now.
You didn't because I didn't have the USB mic on.
There we go.
I should be on now.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I as I was practicing, I found that if I had the USB mic on, there was that echo like you and I had experienced at the beginning. Betsy, did that answer your question and the reason why I only have outside access?
I didn't see any insulation on those doors where you open access. On the doors where you open.
You're right. There isn't there at this point. There isn't any insulation in there, but I have a heater, so it is a conditioned space, so it stayed warm for the winter. I am going to glue solid insulation to that, but I do have a heater that kicks on at 40 degrees should anything go wrong. But you're absolutely right. I do need to insulate that.
And you said that was 2 feet above the deck?
It is. So it's about 24 inches. So kind of like, and that's kind of like how you had your design, right, Mike?
Yeah, I'm considering actually raising it now because that 2 feet looks nice, and I think I only have like 18 inches, which I could barely fit under there if I tried to.
and that was the problem for me, even with it being 2 feet, having to get in there, because I had a small problem with the precision temp hot water heater, and so I had to climb in there, and you know, you're a heck of a lot younger than me, but still climbing in there and then, you know, doing the little hodgepodge to try to turn around and do wrenches and all that has been a challenge. So yeah, if you can raise it up, and that was what I noticed with your design, is that you're not using any lofts either. So you know, I think just raising it up a few more inches would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think so too.
Betsy, what would you use the space for? She off?
You mean the storage space?
Cool. Underneath.
Yeah, I need to get my head around that. It's a very different design than I've seen. So I would be interested in just thinking more through that. I like the accessibility of it for sure. But having lived through a winter here now up north in Pennsylvania, and it was a cold winter, the only thing that would bother me a little bit is if it is bad weather and you have some kind of a problem, you're going to have to be outside fixing it.
Well, that's, there a good point, just I'm going to move out of the way here. So if you look straight back for that white table that the appliances are on, that lower part of it, right, kind of where that table is, that could be a removable wall. And
That's
you
what
could
I
have
was
that where you could
thinking.
open it, or you could actually have that. Yeah. So that where that location there is kind of where I showed you where the water bottles is.
Yeah.
So you do have full access to that. And then the other thing, if you want to do left and right doesn't work when you're on camera. You could also do something with the stairs
Yeah.
where, you could take and have the stairs lift up, and there could be an access door behind that too. So yes, you can make it so that it can access from the house.
Yeah, that's great.
I think one reason I went that route was same as you. I wanted to keep all my plumbing within the thermal envelope and not have anything where it could freeze,
Yeah.
regardless of what temperature it might get to.
Right. Well, I do have a small little weather station here, and I was measuring the temperature, and even when it was like 18 degrees, it was still 30 something in that little space, and there's really no heat blowing underneath there. So even without having those doors insulated, it did pretty well by itself.
Yeah, that's good.
Was one of those vents on the back
Well,
a
cool.
drain
One of
waste
the-
vent? 'Cause I didn't see that. The drain waste vent?
When you say drain waste? Ah, yes. So, I'm not going to go back to plumbing, but so in that basement area, there is a vertical pipe that drops down to it's a 2-inch round pipe that all the gray water goes to with a 2-inch pull valve, RV valve, that then goes to a rubber coupler. And part of what we did here is I went ahead and we dug a 100-foot leach field, did put in a septic tank because there is no septic, there's no solids going down it, it's just gray water. But we put in a French drain or a septic line 100 feet long. And so all that gray water goes down through that and then distributes out.
I guess, but do you have any P traps? Like, what about the
So that's how
venting?
the- Yeah, there's P-traps on all the sinks, on the shower, on everything else.
But like the venting for
And
supplying
that's
that
the
intake
one
air,
that.
P-trap.
Oh, so that was that air recovery ventilator that I had pointed out when when you looked at the outside, the 3 vents. So the trap for the before the P trap for the shower, the P trap for the sink and the bathroom sink, and the P trap for the washer dryer all tie together to one vertical. And then I've got an external air recovery ventilator on that. So this one single unit allows air to go to all 3 of those devices. And then I have another AAV. How do you do that? Hey, Ethan, how do you know which way to point when you're doing videos? Anyway, that way. Underneath the sink, I got another one of those because it was impossible to run a vent underneath the sink. So I've got another AAV out there.
Gotcha.
Well,
Ethan,
Neil,
you've done video for so many years. How do you know when you're looking?
well, it's reversed. It's mirrored unless you change your
know.
settings in Zoom. So right is left and left is right. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it's okay if you don't point at things, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Super.
Well, Neil, this was really
Any other questions?
oh, yeah, let's see if there are any last questions. I do actually have to wrap. We're 15 minutes over. This was such a packed tour. I didn't want to stop
Oh.
you.
It was super.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a great tour.
You're welcome. Thanks, guys, and happy anniversary! Yay!
Yay, happy anniversary.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay,
Thanks.
take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.